Welcome to Against the Spread, where us here at Sportsnet, Geoff Donnovan, pick NFL picks for you right here on YouTube Against the Spread. And I think if we've learned anything, we did okay last week.
Yeah, we had a good week.
But there is no correlation from what happens 1 week in this league this year to the next.
It's the most unpredictable league out there, in my opinion. It's like,
so now let's try and predict it.
Yeah, so here we go.
Yeah. Should we start with the Thursday nighter?
Of course.
Kansas City at Denver. I mean, there's supposed to be historically this great home field advantage at altitude.
Yeah.
I don't think Denver has it, and that's why I'm surprised the line is only -3. Now, I know Kansas City has lost 2 in a row, but Denver's still not great. How do you see this matchup?
The first thing I thought when I saw this matchup on Thursday night was that if this spread was 6.5 or 7, in that range, that I would go all in on the Broncos. But then when I saw, I think it started at 3.5 and now it's 3, I have to go with the Chiefs here. Yes, Mahomes is injured and the offensive line is struggling and the defense gives up a lot of yards on the ground especially. And that seems like a perfect matchup for the Broncos. I just don't see Mahomes and Andy Reid and this Chiefs team losing 3 in a row.
Yeah, and it actually started at 4.5, which is why I'm surprised that it's -3 right now, even though 74% of the public is with the Chiefs. I am with the Chiefs. Tyreek Hill back. I thought he was actually going to come back for this game, get a little bit more rest. He showed how much of a huge
He's
factor
a game changer.
That is.
There's no doubt.
Yeah, and Mahomes is a game changer as well. He's certainly been hobbled with the ankle injury and had his lowest passing quarter and half of his career last week. But he's not facing a dominant pass rush the way we thought the Broncos were going to have.
Yeah.
And so I like Kansas City in this game.
I think the Broncos are getting better on defense, and I think they're better than their record suggests. But with a spread this small, you have to take the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much what this is telling me is that you think that the teams are pretty much even, but we're giving it to the Broncos because of home field advantage. And I don't think anyone would say these teams are even on a neutral field.
No,
so I'll certainly take the 3 points and the Chiefs going to Denver. Another road favorite, the Rams going to Atlanta. The Rams, another team that people thought might be in the Super Bowl, but got off to a kind of slow start out of the gate, specifically on offense. How do you see this one breaking down?
The Rams offense took a beating against the 49ers. I think they had 157 total yards, which is the fewest they've put up in the McVay era. And if there was ever a remedy for offensive struggles, it's a matchup against this Falcons defense, which has to be the worst in the NFL right now. I was watching that Cardinals-Falcons game, and there were points where David Johnson would catch a screen, and there would be no one around him at all for yards. And so as much as the Rams have struggled over the last couple weeks on offense, I have to take them against what is, as I said, the worst defense in the league right now.
I think you use the word, and it's appropriate, remedy, right? Like if your offense is struggling, go to the doctor and get you a prescription of some Falcons secondary.
Exactly, yeah.
Because that's the way they've been. Dan Quinn taking over the play calling duties on defense hasn't seemed to help.
Oh, they've gone backwards.
Yeah, you can't.
Been awful.
You can't play call for making tackles in open field, or as you astutely point out, just being around the ball in general.
In the last 2 games, they've given up 87 points and over 1,000 yards.
Yeah, which is why I think
2 games.
He may not make the end of the season as their head coach.
No, he's on the hot seat for
They're
sure.
not just losing; they're losing in embarrassing fashion. Cliff Kingsbury, inventive play caller. We saw what the Cardinals offense looked like against the Falcons. Guess who you get next? Sean McVay. I think they're going to dial up some big plays.
Definitely.
I like the Rams in this one big time. Oakland goes to Green Bay. Green Bay's favorite at -6 at home in the 1 o'clock game. I thought the Raiders, in a way, with all their turmoil in the offseason, were going to be that remedy team for a lot of people. And they've actually played some pretty good football. Do you think 6 points is enough of a spread?
I actually think that the Raiders are going to keep this one tight. They've had they're coming off a couple really good wins before the bye at Indianapolis and then in London. And so I think that the way the Packers are are playing right now, we saw on Monday night, they still haven't figured it out completely offensively, and I think that comes down to the lack of wide receiver depth that Rodgers has. We like a lot of drops, one that led to an interception, and then they can't figure out if they want to be an exclusive running team or not. So I think the Packers are in flux a little bit, and the Raiders are a good team defensively, and they run the ball really well, which we've seen the Packers struggle against. So the Raiders to keep this one close is something that I like.
Yeah, I'm torn on this game because I do agree with Jacobs. The ability to run the ball for Oakland has been such a huge success and really has kept opposing offenses off of the field. I mean, struggling in terms of keeping receivers healthy for Green Bay with Adams and Allison both suffering due to injury. And we've seen the lack of depth there with the drops and even the throws that Rodgers is making. The degree of difficulty is just something you can't repeat over time. His last TD this week had a Pro Football Focus said there was an 18% chance of completion. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. The only reason that got caught is because Rodgers put it in the only place you could put it.
Exactly. And we saw in that game, even when that did happen, sometimes it ended up being drops.
Yeah.
So like you, I am begrudgingly going to go against, I guess, my better judgment and go against Aaron Rodgers and go with Oakland to cover. I will say this, though. Rodgers always plays good against California teams as a son of California. I actually really like the Packers as a survivor team play this week. I think they will win. I just don't know if they win by a touchdown or more.
That's an interesting
So if you need to pick the Packers at some point, because they're in a very difficult division, so that's basically 8 games where it might be tough.
Yeah.
I think this may be the week if Green Bay is one of the few teams you have left to choose from.
If your prediction's right, a lot of survivor pickers are going to be sweating this one out, though.
Yeah.
It's going to be closer than you'd want it to be in a survivor.
That's very true. I think this one will be close, and this one may be for the division. Houston goes to Indy, 2 teams that have been, I think, a bit better than most people thought.
Yep.
Deshaun Watson, everyone expected him to play well. He's in the MVP race. And Jacoby Brissett, who people weren't sure how well he's going to play, and he, I think, is now starting for a lot of people in fantasy where that wouldn't have been the case coming into the season. -1 for the Colts at home. It's pretty much a pick 'em. Who do you like?
Yeah, I think it's funny. Both of these teams are coming off wins over the Chiefs, and they did it in a way where they ran the ball effectively and controlled the clock and kept the opposing offenses off the field. And here that's going to be the key. Which team has the better offense and which team executes that? And to me, that's the Texans. I think that they're playing maybe better on offense than they've played in the Deshaun Watson era, and that comes down to better protection. Everyone's healthy, and Deshaun Watson is protecting the ball well. And so for a divisional game, and we talk about how the Colts have performed well against the Chiefs. When they were last at home, they lost to the Raiders. So for me, it's going to be close, but I like the Texans on the road.
I like the Texans too. It's pretty much chalk between me and you thus far. And it's not just the fact that their offense is better. It's that in their wins, their offense has been varied. We've seen Watson air the ball out and get Will Fuller really involved in the pass game. And then last week we saw Carlos Hyde really give them a run game, which we didn't think they were going to have when they had their injuries in the backfield in terms of Miller going down in the preseason. And it's that flexibility on offense, which is why I'm a little bit more confident in what they're doing on offense. Certainly the Colts can run the football with Mack, and Brissett is doing a good job taking care of it, but they're not nearly as dynamic, especially since Hilton has been banged up this year.
Yeah.
I like Houston in this game.
Yeah, I don't think the Colts could keep up if it turns into a shootout.
Yeah, and we saw, Houston was very comfortable in a shootout with the Chiefs.
Yeah, he could have won by a lot more. Will Fuller dropped a couple for sure touchdowns.
He did, yeah. Where shall we go next? Why don't we go to the Cardinals going to the Giants? The Giants -3 favorites at home.
Yeah, I like the Giants here. I think they showed up well against the Patriots on Thursday night. The defense played a lot better than I expected them to, and it got away from them late, but that's against a really good Patriots team. Against the Cardinals, who, like we said, had a remedy on offense facing that Falcons defense, I think it's going to be a little bit tougher going into New York. and playing against a defense that has gotten better over time. So I like, and you expect some weapons for Daniel Jones to come back. They had nobody on Thursday night on offense. So if he gets a little more help, the defense continues to play well. I like the Giants at home.
Yeah, I guess I have to wait and see who exactly is coming back and how much help he gets, because Daniel Dimes, after a great start, has kind of reverted back to being a rookie.
Yeah, the turnovers killed them on Thursday night.
Yeah, and so, will Saquon Barkley play? Will Gallman play? Whether or not Barkley plays, will Evan Ingram be back? What's the status of Sterling Shepard? They get Golden Tate back, and clearly that's big.
They have a good connection. They've done well early on since he's been back.
Yeah, but I want to see how many of those other playmakers come back.
Yeah.
So if you're asking me right now, I'm taking the Cardinals because I know David Johnson, even though he's had some back issues, is going to play. I know Kyler Murray is going to play, and he's gotten better slowly throughout the season. So because of the health, I'll take Arizona as the road underdog in this one. Now it's time for a big spread. San Francisco goes to Washington. This went from 9.5 to 10 as the home team being the underdog. I don't think it really matters who we hear. Bill Callahan says it's going to be the starter this week. They're going to have Russian roulette starters, whether it's Keenum or McCoy, or the rookie pick, which the owner likes more than anybody else who's evaluating him. San Francisco has been really, really good, but good enough to be 10-point favorites as a road team coming not fully east, but relatively east.
Yeah, well, like after San Fran gave up the initial touchdown to Los Angeles on the first drive of the game on Sunday, the Rams had 10 more drives. On those drives, the 49ers forced 4 turnovers on downs, 5 punts, and a fumble. And that was it against the Rams. Do we expect Washington with, like you said, that quarterback mess to then keep it close against the 49ers? I just don't see it happening against a defense that's among the best in the NFL right now.
I mean, I think you can make the argument they might be the best. It's them or the Patriots for me, because they're only behind the Patriots in total defense or scoring defense. San Francisco started the year holding their first 5 opponents to 20 points or fewer.
Yeah.
I expect that streak to be 6.
I mean, Washington just barely beat the Dolphins.
Yeah.
And they struggled to put up points against the Dolphins. I just don't see how they put up any points here.
They may not, which is why San Francisco winning by 10 points is relatively
totally believable for me.
Me. So I'm going with the underdog 49ers. This one's also pretty much pick 'em. Minnesota, after a nice performance in back-to-back weeks, go to Detroit, and they are -1 favorites on the road. Who do you like in the 1 o'clock matchup at Ford Field?
I think that the Vikings have made big strides over the last couple weeks, especially on offense. Kirk Cousins seems to have a lot more confidence than he was playing with before, and they look like they've committed to passing the ball more. That being said, I don't trust the Vikings on the road, and I think this Lions team, as we saw Monday night, they got hurt badly by some really bad refereeing decisions. This Lions team can hang with anybody, and at home against a Vikings team that still doesn't really have an offensive identity, I'm going to take the home underdog.
I'm actually going to take the Vikings. The fact that the line is so short makes me feel comfortable. I don't trust the lines yet because, yes, there's been some bad calls that went against them, but there's also been the inability to finish drives and settle for field goals that has gone against them. They should have a couple more wins, if not. In Minnesota, I think they're finding identity in a way in terms of, yes, we want to get Cook the ball, and he's going to be the focal point of our offense. But we have 2 Pro Bowl receivers, and we shouldn't forget about them. And it was Thielen 2 weeks ago. It was Stephon Diggs with a monster game this week. I think Kirk Cousins, if given the opportunity, can be a league average quarterback with way above average talent on the outside.
Yeah.
That balance on offense, even though the Lions defense has been really, really good and much improved this year, I think the Vikings win. And since I think they win, -1 is nothing for me, so I'll take the Vikings on the road. One team who doesn't struggle on the road is the Seahawks. They've gone out east twice and won big games. Russell Wilson might be the league MVP. They come back home and face a Baltimore team that, in a way, I'm not sure about their identity.
Yeah.
3.5 is the line for the Seahawks. Who do you like?
I have to say two things before I make this pick. I think the Seahawks are one of the best teams in the NFC. There's no doubt about that to me. And I am also still not entirely convinced by this Ravens team, who thankfully are in a division that's kind of a mess right now and have a 2-game lead. That said, I'm going to take the Ravens here, and it's because the Seahawks have an innate ability to keep games really close. They've outscored their opponents in 4 of their 5 wins by 6 points or less, and in those 4 wins, they've won by 14 combined points. So I just think that against a Ravens offense that's very dynamic, either in the run game or the pass game, depending on how the game goes, that this ends up being a lot closer than the Seahawks would want it to be.
See, I'm actually going with Seattle only because Seattle has shown the ability to come back from behind. The Ravens haven't. And my fear with them is they're talking about the fact that, Lamar Jackson could set the record in terms of rushing for a quarterback. And they as a team could set the record in terms of rushing, which are all great. And those are positive things when you have the lead. But coming from behind in Seattle against that defense and really against that crowd, I'm still not convinced they could pass the ball to win. Russell Wilson has shown, if anything, that he can take care of the ball. 14 TDs, 0 interceptions. And when you look at the Ravens secondary, they've had 2 safeties now on IR.
Yeah.
3 DBs on IR in general.
And an already unconvincing defense, right? Those are huge losses. Yeah.
5 defensive backs total who are injured. I just see Russell Wilson having a field day throwing the ball at home against this Ravens offense, getting up early. And then I think I could see the game getting away from the Ravens. And that's why I think 3.5 for me is easy. If this was 6 or 7, I still would be with the Seahawks, who, you
really?
said it. I think you can make an argument that the Seahawks are the best team in the NFC. I'm not sold that by the end of the year, the Ravens are going to be the best team in their own division.
Wow.
And so that's why I'm very comfortable with the Seahawks in this spot.
All right.
I'm actually very comfortable with this next pick, but I don't think that will tip my hand on where I'm going. Chicago at home, -3 favorites. The traveling Saints come to town. 73% of the public is with New Orleans. Are you?
Yeah, I'm with New Orleans, and for me, this comes down to who you feel more comfortable with as a backup quarterback. Both of these teams playing without their starters. Chase Daniel, we saw who Chase Daniel is when they went to London and lost to the Raiders, and we've seen Teddy Bridgewater continually get better. It was a tough game in Jacksonville. That Jacksonville defense is good, but there wasn't really ever any doubt to me that the Saints were going to come out on top. Now they go against a Bears offense that I don't think they will be able to score points with Chase Daniel under center. So I like them as road underdogs here.
Yeah, and we saw this season that if the Bears defense is on the field for a long stretch of time because of that offense, they tend to wear down. They're fast defense, but they're not as physical at the point of attack. You can run the ball against them, which the Raiders were able to do. I think Alvin Kamara has a big day running the ball against the Bears. Because here's my issue. If this spread was actually reversed and it was Saints -3,
take it.
I would still take it, right?
Yeah.
This line, 2 weeks in a row, the Saints line surprises me. And Teddy Bridgewater, yes, he's a backup. But I think what the Bears actually need is a Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
Someone who's just going to take care of the football, make the easy throws. If I'm a Bears fan, it would have killed me to watch on our bye week Deshaun Watson and Mahomes go,
go
head for head.
Yeah.
But in fact, they don't even need that. They just need a Trent Dilfer, a modern-day Trent Dilfer, because they have the modern-day Ravens defense of the early 2000s. And that's what they don't have in Chase Daniel. They don't have in Trubisky.
It'll be interesting to see what Trubisky does when he gets back, because they did, it looked like that last year. It didn't look like he had it early on this season, and we'll see, whether some of that Matt Nagy magic can come back. And help Trubisky rebound.
Yeah, I wonder if philosophically Nagy has all of these great ideas, And I just wonder if they're catered to the team that he has.
Yeah, and they just can't be executed by the quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing that Sean Payton has done is he has changed the offense to fit the skill set of Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
I love the Saints at home. I also, and again, begrudgingly, I love the Dallas Cowboys. I was born into a Cowboys family.
It's your curse.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And as great as it was in the 90s, it has been terrible since.
It's been a long road, yeah.
And as great as it was for the first 3 weeks of the season, it has been terrible since. Yeah. They play the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, we've got an interesting, we'll call it the Donovan Jeff Bowl here.
Yes, which I believe I was victorious in
both times
last year.
That was tough last year.
Cowboys are favored at home, -3 for the Sunday nighter. You are a loving Eagles fan.
I am.
Where are you going with this one?
The Eagles are a good team. I think everyone will admit that, but they have a really bad secondary. And that whether that comes down to execution or injuries, it's a fact. And we've seen it over and over. It killed them against the Vikings this weekend. They were so bad. And for that reason, I'm going to take the Cowboys at home here because they have a really good passing offense. That comes into question based on whether Amari Cooper is going to be able to go on Sunday night. But I still think that that's the biggest area of weakness among both teams in this game, and it's going to be the downfall of the Eagles.
You're right. The Eagles' secondary has struggled. And it would have been worse if they haven't been bailed out at times by their front seven. Yep. Here's the issue, is that Dallas, as presently constitutes itself, is not a great passing team. Dak Prescott has reverted. He should have signed after the first couple weeks because he got a lot more money than what he's about to get now. His first 3 games, 9 TDs, 2 INTs. Last 3 games, 2 TDs, 4 INTs. Not ideal. They are a great passing attack, but who are they passing to? Amari Cooper, questionable. Randall Cobb has already missed a game, may miss another. So now you're looking at a receiving group that is Michael Gallup is your number 1, and Tavon Austin is your number 2.
Jason Witten.
And Jason Witten, who wasn't able to separate for the last 5 years. Not ideal. Oh, right. And how are you going to pass? Both of your tackles are hurt.
That's a big loss for the
Tyron
Cowboys
Smith on one side and Leo Collins on the other. So the Eagles secondary might be vulnerable, but we may never figure it out because the ability to complete plays on air will be difficult for this Cowboys offense until Cooper and Cobb come back and until they solidify their tackles, never mind against an NFL defense with the division potentially on the line. I'm actually going to roll with the Eagles.
So look at us. We admit to being fans of a team here, and then we both pick against them. And then next week, as part of a bet you and I have ongoing, one of us will wear the opposing fans' swag. Yeah. But the thing is, we'll be doing it in celebration. Because if I'm wearing the Cowboys swag, I won this.
Correct.
And if you're wearing the Eagles swag,
yep,
that Carson Wentz jersey back there, you will have won. So this is ironic.
We are either fair and balanced journalists or we are just begrudging fans.
Insane football fans.
Who see all the flaws in our team
and
professionally want to hedge our bets. One of the two.
All is true, I believe.
So we will find out. Let us know in the comments where you lie in the NFC East matchup. And the funny thing is, this is a big game. It's
a huge game
for first place. But in a way, it's not a big game because the division is still going to be up for grabs. Washington's not a factor.
You're right.
The Giants aren't a factor. These two teams are going to play each other again in Philadelphia later in the season. So as early as it is, let's not forget, both teams struggled out of the gate last year.
Yeah.
And by the end of the year, both teams were teams that nobody wanted to face if they made the postseason.
True.
So as big as this is, there's still a lot of football left to be played.
It's bigger for our pride.
Yes,
when it comes down to this show next week.
Exactly. The Patriots against the Jets, who are playing with some pride. I have to give them some respect. They were big underdogs against the Cowboys, and they showed out and they won the game. The Patriots are a little bit different. They're going to New York this week as 9.5-point favorites. Who do you like? Somehow this line started at 4.5, so I hope people got in early.
Yeah,
because
really.
that is stealing for me. It's now at 9.5. It may continue to move between now and Sunday. Who do you like at its current number?
This is the argument that I would make when someone says that quarterback isn't the most important position in sports, because what we saw with the Jets on Sunday against Dallas would be my exhibit A, because when Sam Darnold came back, that's a totally different team. And I think this gives the Jets something to rally around. I mean, who knows what could have been if he had been in the last few weeks. But the thing that really impressed me about the Jets is how hard that defense plays. And they did the same against the Eagles, even though they got blown out in Philadelphia. And that's why I'm going to take the Jets here. It's going to be tough for the Patriots to go into New York and play on Monday night. And I'm not entirely convinced yet by that Patriots offense. So I could see this being a really low-scoring game that the Jets keep tight.
I love the Patriots in this. And
that's really bizarre, because the last couple of weeks you've picked the underdog against the Patriots, and it's burned you.
And it has burned me. So I suppose I'm learning from my past
Maybe.
mistakes, or I suppose I should just continue to pick the Patriots to lose.
Consistency.
And the
I
law
thought,
of averages will eventually come out on my side.
Maybe.
This is what I know. We just saw the first home win for the Patriots when Tom Brady didn't throw a TD pass since 2008. You know who also knows that? Tom Brady. I think he's going to have a monster day. Even though the receivers have struggled, you're looking at Tom Brady and Bill Belichick with extra time to prepare since they played on Thursday. It's almost like you have a mini bye, and a Jets team coming off a win. So now all week, Bill Belichick can preach how good the opponent is, even though that's clearly not true. I think the Patriots win and win big. This is, to me, just so Patriots that everyone's kind of doubting. Their receiving core doesn't look great. They traded Demaryius Thomas in the division to the Jets when they had Antonio Brown. Now they actually could use him.
Yeah.
This is a spot where they come back with an FU game and just murder the opponent. And that's why I like New England in this spot. But I've been wrong on New England all year, even though they're 6-0 and 4-2 against the spread. So what do I know? Let's quickly rapid fire through some games that aren't really worth conversation, but we'll pick them anyways.
Sure.
Jags at Bengals. Who do you like?
I like the Jags. The Bengals are just really bad, and I see the Jags and Gardner Minshew rebounding this week on the road.
Yeah, until AJ Green comes back, I will not be picking the Bengals. I like the Jags as well. Chargers at Titans. Who do you like?
I'm going to take the home Titans, and that really it makes me a little sick, because I said I would never pick the Titans, but here we are. The Chargers are just too banged up to compete, and I think the Titans' defense at home will be enough to get the win here.
I'm actually going to take the Chargers because at least I know who their quarterback's going to be. Like, I mean, Mariota is a high-level pick. They still haven't really said he's the guy. He's looking over his shoulder, and rightfully so. But also, I think they struggle for some bad play calling on the offensive side at times. I do like the Chargers to rebound after they haven't looked very good over the last couple of weeks against the Titans. And Dolphins at Bills, -17 for the Bills. When is the last time the Bills were 17-point favorites? Jim Kelly was probably the quarterback the last time. But here's where we are with the Dolphins. They're just that bad.
Yeah.
In the battle of Joshes, Allen and Rosen, who do you like in the game that is at New Era Field?
We both picked the Dolphins last week, and that was a huge mistake, and I'll never do it again, so I'm going to take the Bills.
17 points is a lot of points.
It's a lot of points.
I don't know how the health of Singletary is. I'm actually going to pick the Dolphins again. I think the Bills are great. I just don't think they're that great.
But that defense is that great. Like, I just don't see the points. I don't see the points coming for the Dolphins here.
That's true. That's true. You're probably right. Something that we really feel right about are kind of locks, our best bets.
Yeah.
Give me your 3 best bets of this week.
All right, so my bronze pick is the 49ers by 10. I know that's a big spread, but I just don't like anything Washington is doing, and I like everything the 49ers are doing. Silver, I'm going with the Jags over the Bengals by 3, And then my gold is the Rams over that terrible, terrible Falcons defense.
Got it. I'm going bronze. I'm going Seattle at home. 3.5 isn't that much points. My silver, San Fran. They've got for me, it's possibly the best defense in the league. They're 4-1 against the spread this year. It's not just the fact that they're 5-0. They're really, really killing teams. And then my gold is New Orleans. +3. I don't really understand that line whatsoever. As I said, I think if they were favorites, I would still feel comfortable with them. As an underdog, I love them going to Chicago.
Good one.
And that brings us to our Survivor picks.
Yeah.
Who do you like in Survivor this week?
Well, I said I was never going to pick the Dolphins again, and so that gives me 100% confidence. 100%. I may come to regret this, but that's what I have in the Bills this week as a Survivor pick.
That is some tough talk, which is scaring me. I'm going to reach over and try and knock on some wood because I also have the Bills this week.
All right.
Because I've said for a long time, listen, just stream whoever the Dolphins and or Redskins are playing back and forth because you obviously can't pick teams twice, and they've got divisional matchups for almost half of their season.
The Dolphins had their chance to win a game. That was it. It's gone.
They did.
They're never going to do it.
So Dolphins on the road sounds like a good reason to pick the Bills, and you got to have to pick the Bills probably once at some point.
Yep.
What better week than now?
For sure.
Well, hopefully we have a better week than we did last week. And you continue to trust us with your picks, and let us know what you think in the comments. What are your best bets? What are your Survivor picks? Who do you like? Who do you not like? Who do you disagree with?
Pick the Eagles-Cowboys game.
Yeah.
Pick the Eagles-Cowboys game.
Set us straight. Thanks for watching. Cool. How long was that, Torx?
Well, we were recording early, but I want to say that was nearly half an hour or so.
Yeah, perfect. That's good timing.